Alright guys, good morning and welcome back. Alright, so in today's video, I want to show us how to make our regular outfit, the top. Now, I have already cut, I have gummed. Now, the reason I'm trying to show you guys how to do this is for us to see how the cutting of the sewing rather is. Now, I will explain how the cuttings were done. Now, this is my bias, which the measurement I use here is 2.5 inches width. I folded the both ends this way, and then I did another folding. Now this next folding is not up to the one under. It's a bit shorter, right? Then after this, now this will be the inner fancy flap that will accommodate or that will house the label, right? Now the measurement I use here, finishing is 1.72 inches by length that's above 6 inches. I will show you guys how to use all of this. Now the next thing I did here, this is the regular front block. Now if you have watched my previous videos on cuttings, it's the same process, right? Nothing different, nothing new. Now the only thing new here is that I use hairstay in gumming. I use the black hairstay in gumming, right? I first gummed the first one. I now use another one, place in front, did the slitting and then push inside, and then I gummed. And this is how I achieve the slit without a facing, right? I use the hairstay. You can still make use of material gum to do this, but make sure you do it neatly, right? It's advisable to use the same color of fabric of gumming in order to make it look nice inside. Then I also got my center ironing, which is very much important, which we see when we are sewing. Then next I have here is the chest pocket. Now I will do pleating on this. Now the measurement I use here is a measurement of 8.5 inches width by the length of 16. I will show you guys how this will be used in our sewing, right? Now the next I have here is my flap, right? My chest flap. Now I used color gum to cut out exact size I want, and then I gummed it on this black piece first, and then I folded the black edges, and then before I introduced my fancy flap. Now this was bought in the market. A yard was bought for 200 naira, so you can check a local market and then buy the one that will suit the color of the fabric they're making. And then I now cut out this flap and then place it on top of the black fabric and then hemmed it all through. So this is how this flap is achieved. Then after this, now these are my side pockets. Now these side pockets are cut normal. I use the the hairstyle as well to gum it, and then place this flap, fancy flap as well, just to achieve or create a design here. You can decide to create yours any form you want. You can decide to go straight this way, and possibly you can decide to go straight, put one at the center. You can decide to make it V. However you want to create your style. There's no rule restricting you from creating your own style. So this is just the way I did mine. I made it go across and then tucks half inch inward and then go this way. Make sure that before you create this style, you should not have folded. The all of the edges will be open so that the folding will lap or flush here properly. Right? So just leave it open while you place this across, and the folding will now handle the edge to finish up properly. Then I now run a thread at the tip of all of these fancy flaps. The same thing was done on the other one as well. Then this is going to be a 3/4 sleeve. Now the 3/4 sleeve length we had is 16 or thereabouts. Then I deducted certain inch for the turn up. Now if you have a turn up at the edge of the sleeve, then I cut at 3 inches lesser from the total sleeve length of 3/4 I have, and then I added 1 inch extra. The 1 inch extra I added was meant to be added, use half inch to join the turn up to this point and half to the shoulder. So now this flap, this fabric I have here, the measurement I have here is okay 2.7, right? So I minused 2.5 from the main sleeve length and then added half inch here to join to this. Now this was cut on double fold, and then I use hemming gum to hem it properly. Hemming gum, don't use hairstay, use hemming gum so that it can give it a proper feeling, right? It was done on the both sleeves, right? So I will show us as well how to join this. Now the next I did here is I okay, this is the back facing. I use the hairstay to do the back facing. Now, if you're making use of hairstay, make use of the medium texture. Don't use the light or the hard one. Use the medium texture. It's used for suits making. So you only use this when you are certain that the fabric you're sewing is an expensive material and you don't want to change the total texture of it by using a hard material gum, right? So I decided to use hairstay in order to retain the same texture of this fabric, not so that I won't change it to be a hard one or any other texture. So I use hairstay and then it was placed at the wrong side, and then I now the rule that governs government of hairstay is that you must make use of um, a cotton fabric placed on top of the hairstay, that after placing to the part you want to gum, bring a pieces of fabric, place on top of the hairstay, and then soak the pieces of fabric first, place on top, and then gum, right? So for some of us that might be in my suits trainings or online trainings, you might have seen me do this on the classes. Don't forget, I also have Telegram classes, paid classes where I have videos, more of them for you to learn more. So you can send a message on Telegram with my number, which I will drop on the description box of this video. Then for the back piece of the fabric as well, I gummed the right side, the front of it at the neck region. It's still hairstay, right? So it just gives you the same texture of fabric, but a bit firm on it. So that is all for the cutting explanations. So we'll now go over to the sewing proper. All right, so now I have folded this tip of the flap. I made it to be a V-shaped form. So now bear in mind that before you fix your flap, you must have threaded the fancy flap right on top. You must have run a thread on top of it on both ends all through to the end. Then after this, it's advisable that you thread the right part of your flap. It's advisable you thread the right part of your flap. So the extent of this threading, it helps to relax your flap when fixed on the bodies of your clothes. Because if you don't thread it, if you just sew the regular place and stop somewhere here will be popping up, right? So this threading will help to flatten this edge, right? It will help to flatten this edge. So I'm threading 6 inches, 7 inches from this edge. So you just thread from here. So just thread from here. It's very important that you do this right. It helps you to have a perfect relaxation of your flap when fixed on the bodies of the outfit, right? So you thread all through that way. So just thread at the tip. Then when you thread that part, you will now go ahead in your regular sewing, right? So you now bring your front piece of your senator outfit, bring the front piece, then you place the flap, make sure this edge is brought together, then place the flap on top, making sure that the flap is dividing this center slitting into two equal parts. So push the flap to go half inch up that way, and then you start from there to stitch. You start from there to stitch. Then when you start from there to stitch, you make sure it's at the center point, right? So stitch from there, right? Then you pin it from there and then arrange the flap again, making sure that this flap is at the center of this. Then you are meant to cross check the underneath piece of your fabric. Make sure that it's properly tucked in to avoid it coming out after stitching, right? So you hold it this way and then you stitch from there. So stitch from there, you stitch from there, making sure that you arrange the flap step by step, right? Arrange it step by step as you are going, right? Arrange it step by step as you are stitching. Arrange the flap step by step, right? Take your time in doing this. Don't be in a haste. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button on my channel. Subscribe so that you will be notified whenever I make a new post. Share this video to your friends and your timeline. Invite your friends to join so that they will learn from from us as well, right? I give you one of the simplest explanations on senator making, right? So it's just something that you need to um, share with people so that they will learn. Most of us are craving for this knowledge, right? So I try my best to make these videos available for us to be better designers than we were before we come over to this channel. So make sure that the flap is centralized properly, and then you sew at the tip. Make sure that the stitching must be at the tip, right? Tip to tip makes your stitching perfect and gives you an edge over other designers, right? So you take your time and stitch the flap, even though it's going to be time consuming, but then it's worth it when properly done. So stitch all through. So stitch all through from there. So stitch all through from there. Stitch all through from there. Then after this, the next you start doing now will be your pocket, which I believe we are going to do our pleating. Pleating. So give my scissors. So we proceed. Cut your threads this way as well. Cut your threads. Then after this, the next you do now is to make sure the back neck, the flap is synchronized with the front neck, cutting exact points of this, right? Cut the exact point of this. Cut the exact point of this. So this is how it is. So this is how the flap is. As you can see how smooth the flap is on our outfit. So the next we will do now will be on the pleating of the front pocket. I told us that the front we have pleats, right? So now I made this intentionally so that I can have space for pleating. So I will hold it this way. I will hold it 2 inches or 3 inches off from there. You can start from front that way. So I'm lapping the machine foot at the edge. Now there are difference between pleats and tucks. So this is pleating, right? I will show us tucks when we get to that stage. So I'm stitching with the machine foot at my gauge. So stitch from there, and then you are going to repeat the same thing as many times as you can. Then the second one will take bearing from the first one you made. So fold as well in this form. Then the threading of the first one you have sewn will be lapping at the edge of your machine foot while you make the second threading, right? So the first threading is lapping at this edge while the material edge is lapping at the other foot. So this will make you have a perfect pleating when it's being brought out, right? So lap it properly in this form. Take your time, lap properly in that form, and then you stitch from there. You stitch from there. You stitch from there. So stitch all through from there, and then you have done this now. So the next you will do now will be the third one. So this is how you will repeat it. So I will take my time now and do this. After doing it, I will show you the result before we proceed. All right, so now I have done 7 of these. As you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you will now go and iron down. These edges will be ironed down totally. You must make sure you place a fabric on top, iron them down. It comes out in this form. As you can see that the pleats are covering each of the threadings. The threadings are not showing. So I will go and do this now. You now fold the size of the pocket you want to see or have. Fold the other side as well. This is how the size will be folded, and then we will now proceed in the other sewing process. All right, so now I have folded my pockets, and then I want to show you the design, the size. I folded it. Now the size I have here is 4.5. Now, it's because anytime you are making your breast pocket, whether patch or inner pocket, you must consider your customer's chest measurements. Now, the chest I have is chest of 46, 47, meaning chest of 46 and the belly of 47, right? So that is the reason why my pocket was is up to 4.5-inch width. Then the length is 6.5. You can decide as well the length you want to use for this. So this is how the pleating came out. If you now want to run threads up this way, you now run threads across. So I think we are going to run threads across. So all you need to do is to fold them down this way, fold them all through this way, fold them one after the other all through this way, and then make sure you start from the middle or the center, right? Make sure it's starting from the center of your flap, and then you fold it, you place it this way, 4.5, 2.25, then start from the midpoint, then start from there and run a thread across, making the pleatings to come up in opposite direction, right? So make the pleatings to come up in opposite directions. This is how the pleats will be. So you take your time to do this. Don't be in a haste, right? So take your time to do this and then end it at exact points where the pleats ended. You can decide to run two threads or one thread, however be the case, there's no problem, it's still the same thing. So this is how the design came out. Then you now proceed with your regular stitching of your pleats, right? Let me run a two thread there to give it a better balancing effect. I will do it in a V-shaped form. I will do it in a V-shaped form. So I'm running a double thread at this point in a slight V-shaped form, just to give it a more relaxing effect, right? So you can decide to do your straight line, one threading, or however, anyhow you want to do it is solely your choice. So this is how the style or the design came. Very fine, right? So you don't need to iron again. You can just go around and stitch. So you now bring the front block, that's the front piece of the outfit you are making, and then you are going to place this way. Now the point of your placement will now you will now push out 2 inches from your shoulder. Push out 2 inches from the shoulder, then let the pocket be at 0.9 or 9.5. The minimum or the maximum rather is 10 inches, right? So you start from there and then half inch or 1 inch away from the flap, depending on your customer's chest measurements. Then after you must have done that, then you start from there to stitch. Now I've decided, or I want to have a bit of this tucked at the sides of the pocket, so I will cut it out this way. So this will be how I will just cut it out this way. So I will fold this and then push it at the sides, right? I will just fold it this way, just very small, like quarter inch or thereabouts. So I will push it at the side here, right, at the side of the pocket before I start stitching the sides of the breast pocket, right? So start from there, then stitch properly, and then make sure it's lapping properly, right? And then arrange your pockets as well as you progress. Arrange the pockets as well as you progress all through that way. And then after this, you also stitch the down parts of it. You also make sure it's properly balanced or relaxing. You stitch all through that way as well. You stitch all through that way as well. So you go all through from here and you relax it properly as well. If you had used hasted to do this, bear in mind that it will be a bit stretchy, so you need to be very mindful of it. So you need to lap everything properly, right? So you need to lap everything properly. So you tuck it out this way, and then because of the pleats was up down, so you have to be very mindful of the edges here so that it doesn't go in the other direction. So you take your time. So once you have gotten to this stage, So this is where this is how the pocket will be. So after this now, you now move over to the back um, panel. I have worked on the front panel and I'm done with the front panel. As you can see, the outcome already is making sense. See how simple and nice this size or this style is. My personal creation, right? It wasn't gotten from anywhere, so you can decide to create yours as well, anyhow you want it to be. Then after you must have done this, so the next you will do as well, you bring the back panels, bring the back panel, bring the back panel. Then you first and foremost fix the um, interfacing inner for your uh, label. So place at the center point. Now the length from the neck depth should be at least 6 inches, right? Then should be at least 6 inches. Then you have to stitch at the edge. You have to stitch at the edge. You have to stitch at the edge all through that way. You have to stitch at the edge all through that way. Stitch at the edge all through that way. And then you can decide to use gold thread to sew it, but since we are sewing black and gold, so there is no problem as well. So you can as well go all through this way, and as well go all through this way. So when you must have gotten to this stage, you make sure you tuck in any excesses coming underneath here, right? I'm not rushing this video. I'm taking my time to explain in detail so that you can understand and see how it's done, right? I could have paused the videos and jumped them, but I want to give you a few view or coverage of how these things are done, so it can give you the morale or the boost to go ahead in doing yours. So after doing this now, so the next you will do now is to bring your label. If you have your label fixed, if you don't have it, you can contact me. I will help you make your own label, and then you make sure you have a branded label. It helps to improve your work. So you place it in this form, this way, and then the length from the neck depth is 3 inches maximum. The minimum is 2 inches, 2.5, right? So you stitch your label at the center fold. So this is how it is. So I like stitching my label all right round so that it doesn't get to inconvenience your customer at the neck, at the inner neck. So stitch all right round that way. So stitch all right round this way. Stitch all right round this way. Stitch all through this way. So after this, so the next you will do as well, you cut your threads, and as well you bring the front panel, keep the back panel this way. So bring the front panel right, and then place this way, and then after this, you now bring your back facing. You now bring your back facing, the back facing of your outfit. So bring the back facing, and then face the right side of the back facing to the right side of the front piece. Hold the thread piece this way, and then stitch the shoulder points. Stitch the shoulder points. Now the stitching will be 1/2 inch. So stitch the shoulder points 1/2 inch. So hold them firmly, and then you stitch the shoulder point 1/2 inch, right? So stitch here 1/2 inch. Then after you must have done this, you now arrange the panels as well. Make sure that the 3 pieces are equal. arrange the three of them properly, right? Arrange them properly, then stitch all through across, stitch all through across, and then cut your threads, cut your threads. Then after this, the next you do will be your um, other neck, other shoulder area as well. Then you hold the three panels together as well. Hold the three pieces together as well. And then take your time, right, in doing this. Don't be in a haste, right? Don't bother about the speed for now. Bother about the results. Speed will come as a result of constant or regular practice, right? So just be conscious of the outcome first. Some of us are always conscious of how fast I am. No, it's not by how fast you are, it's by how well. Speed will come. There are sometimes when I was sewing at the onset, I can't finish one top a day, right? But now I can boast of 8 stops on a daily, right? So you just take your time, do all of this, cut the threads as well, and then you cut any excesses here. Very important, cut any excesses there. Cut the excesses there this way, and then you push the front facing now. The facing that was in front, push to the back, and then you top stitch the shoulder points. You make sure you balance the underneath part material properly. You top stitch the shoulder points. You top stitch the shoulder. Top stitch here properly, right? Top stitch there properly. Balance properly this way, and then you top stitch there properly this way. Top stitch, balance properly, and then top stitch there properly. Take your time. Make sure there is no rumples underneath, right? Please don't forget to click on the subscribe button on the channel and give me a thumbs up on this video. Tell me where you are watching from, right? Tell me where you're watching from. It's comment and tell me where you're watching from, and then drop share the video as well. Subscribe to the channel. This is the only thing you need to do for me so that I'll be aware that my videos are being viewed by people, right? Also ask your questions in the comment sections, and don't forget I still have a pet class on Telegram. If you so wish to join my Telegram pet classes, send me a chat on my number on the group, right? So just you have your way to go through the page and see my number in one of my videos, or better still, I will drop my number on the description box, or you can go to the channel about and check for my social media handles on my channel and send me a DM on Instagram, on Facebook, on thing. Yeah, that's the two I have there, and I will reply immediately I get the message. All right, so having done this now, so the next we will do is to um, sew the back facing down. So you cut the threads as well, and then you have to sew or stitch the facing down. So I will stitch this down now. We now go over to the neck trimming, the armhole trimming, the shoulder trimming, and then piping on the neck, and then fixing on the sleeve. I will do the facing, and then we'll go over to that next page. All right, so now I have trimmed my neck and I have trimmed my armhole. This is how the outfit is coming out. As you can see how simple and nice it is. So before you pipe your neck, you also make sure you cross check the neck circumference. So I will go ahead now and pipe the neck and then join my sleeve, right? So but because of us, some of us that are yet to or that are still learning, I will also let me adjust the neck more. I think I need little adjustments more on the neck. So I am trying to lap it properly this way, and then let me adjust a bit. You must adjust the neck part from the back panel, right? I'm adjusting a bit so that it will give me a perfect finishing and perfect neckline. So after this, you now go ahead and pipe your neck, and then the next thing you will do now is to bring your bias. Then you